welcome to Zone 6 Bill Garden Guide. Well, it's late summer and things are beginning to wind down a bit, just a bit, in the garden. If you grew tomatoes, even using some of the tips I doled out in episode 3, hopefully you've had as bountiful a harvest of those luscious red fruits as I have. I grew 2 varieties this year. These smaller ones are Roma paste. They are a very meaty tomato, not a lot of juice in them, and they boil down relatively fast. These larger ones are called Bush Champion. They're a solid, meaty tomato, not a lot of seeds inside of them, so they will boil down somewhat faster too, but they also make a delicious eating tomato. Now, if you're eating as many tomatoes as you can, and all your friends have had enough of your personal harvest, and there are still tons left, why not try making some delicious spaghetti sauce out of some of them? The Roma paste variety is especially good for this purpose, and the meatiness of the Bush Champion, as well as many other varieties, will do very well too. So let's go inside. There are several ways to prepare the tomatoes before the cooking process begins. You can puree them in a blender, or a special strainer created specifically for removal of seeds from fruits and vegetables. I prefer to cut them up and cook them down as is, but if your digestive system does not tolerate tomato seeds, then you'd have to remove them. But before you do any of that, you've got to remove the skins. First, bring a pot of water to boil. While the water is heating, remove the stems from the tomatoes and put them into cool water to wash them. Give them all a quick little rub to remove any garden soil or other debris that might still be on them. Next, score an X into the bottom of each tomato. This will help the skins to come off very, very easily. I'm using a vegetable basket to plunge the tomatoes into the boiling water, but if you don't have one of those, a slotted spoon works just as well. Place the scored tomatoes into the boiling water bath. After a minute, remove them and immediately plunge them into a waiting bowl of cold water. Some people use ice water, but I found that's not necessary. The skins come off just as well in cold tap water as they do with ice water. The skins now will effortlessly slide off. As an aside, all vegetable scraps, peelings, anything that's left over that's vegetable or fruit goes into a compost can or the compost pit. But more on that in another episode. Cut them into small chunks. Mince about a half cup of onion and a couple of tablespoons of garlic. Add a couple of tablespoons of olive oil to your pan over a low heat. You don't want to get it really, really hot. Add the garlic and the onions. And saute them till they're just a little soft. You don't want to get them brown. The garlic can impart a bitter flavor to your sauce if it gets too brown, too cooked. Over low heat to start with. And keep an eye on it, stirring it every now and then to prevent scorching or burning. You can also turn the heat up now a little bit. In the meantime, chop up some onion, a couple stalks of celery, for a slightly different onion flavor, chives, basil, leaves, stems, flowers and all, fresh from the garden parsley, some minced garlic, however much you like to taste. Now I'm going to be adding more tomatoes to this mixture, so I have quite a bit of garlic. Sweet peppers if you like. I know people who put hot peppers in their sauce. Some sprigs of fresh oregano right from the garden. 1 banana peel. Just kidding on the banana peel. Ixnay on the ananabe. Right now this looks like some sort of chunky green sauce, but we are going to add more tomatoes. Mix everything thoroughly. I like to have my tomatoes starting out chunky. Some people like to dice them, make them very, very fine. Along the way, add a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of black pepper, depending on how much you're making, and whatever suits your tastes, more or less. I'm going to add a half a cup of vinegar to the sauce. Generally it calls for red wine vinegar, but I don't have any, so I'm going to use apple cider vinegar. And we'll add a nice extra flavor to the sauce when it's finished. As I mentioned earlier, stirring is essential. Probably every 10 to 15 minutes, even more. Give it a good stir. Scrape the sides. Lots of flavor-filled goodies attach themselves there, and you work them back into the sauce. Right now, this is the consistency of a nice, thick, rich, and chunky stewed tomato dish. But our goal is for a nice, thick, rich, and chunky sauce. This has taken approximately 6 hours to boil down to the consistency that I'm looking for. Now, depending on the type of tomato you use, if there's a lot of water in it, it's going to take longer. I did add more tomatoes to this as I went along, probably about 4 more quarts. As this boiled down, I added more to it. But it is done, at least to my liking. Let's see if it stands the test. Well, look at that. It's capable of standing alone, all by itself. What do you say we whip up some spaghetti and give it a try? So let's give this a whirl, shall we? Oh, it's delicious. Truly delicious. So now the question is, what do we do with the rest of the sauce that's left? Because that's far too much for just me. There's only 2 of us in the house. Well, I think freezing is probably the best way to do this. I used to can, but I don't anymore. But freezing is another episode. In fact, it's going to be episode 9, so stay tuned. In the meantime, bon appetit. Oh, that's right, that's already taken. Okay, happy gardening.